today's top boxing news.
To be honest, no. She's not going to fight at featherweight this year. She's fighting up at super lightweight next week. She's got the fight with Katie Taylor at super lightweight in November. So that's over a year out of the ring defending the featherweight belts. I don't even know how she can still be holding them. And I feel like there should be pressure from girls that are high up in the rankings on those other bodies, should be putting pressure on for her to be stripped. I know it's probably easier said than done, unfortunately, and there's all the politics that go with boxing, but I just think, like, how do you actually get away with it? Yeah. And it's frustrating because obviously it's stopping unification fights, it's stopping undisputed fights from happening. And I don't think she has any interest in fighting me. I think if she did, I think it would have happened by now, or at least some kind of interest in that fight, or that it might happen, and there's just nothing. So I just feel like, I said it a year ago, she doesn't want to fight me, and I still believe that. I do believe my style's all wrong for her, but at the end of the day, at the moment, she's got what I'm chasing. She's got what the featherweight division are chasing. So of course we want that fight. And I feel like it's going to be really shit for her to be stripped and then they be fought for as vacant belts. Do you know what I mean? But it's kind of robbing the opportunity of anyone actually winning those belts off the champion. And that's what I find the most frustrating about it.
And who is it that Sky thinks was going to beat Amanda Serrano for those belts? Nina Menke, who's ranked at number 1 with both the IBF and the WBO.
Who, Jennifer Miranda?
She's ranked at number 1 via the WBA. Whenever Sky Nicolson has a fight rolling around, you will notice that this subject, it surfaces. I think if Germany's own Nina Menke is not piping up and being more vocal about what's supposed to be her world title opportunity via the IBF or the WBO, it's because Amanda was going to fight her. She was going to fight her not that long ago in Puerto Rico. But Amanda suffered that injury to her eye, and the fight didn't happen. Nina Menke was paid her purse in full as a result. She was compensated. They only had to pay her half.
They were only obligated to give Nina half her purse for the cancellation, but they paid her purse in full, as if the fight happened. And if you know anything about Nina, if you've seen her fight, you'll know Amanda was going to beat the hell out of her.
She beat the hell out of Jennifer Miranda, too. What are you talking about?
Beat the hell out of you.
One thing I think Sky Nicolson is right about is that Amanda's not interested in fighting her. I think she's right about that. Where I think she's wrong is that her style is all wrong for Amanda.
You don't throw enough, and what you do throw, you don't hit hard enough. To keep her off you?
What usually happens to a pure boxer when you put them in there with a relentless volume puncher? What usually happens?
What happened to Rashidi Ellis at the hands of Roman Villa? What happened to Zelfa Barrett at the hands of Shavkat Rakhimov?
The pure boxer loses. The pure boxer gets overwhelmed by the volume, the activity, and they start to come apart at the seams. We've had this conversation before. I don't begrudge Sky Nicolson her ambition and her belief in herself, but make no mistake, if she actually got what she wanted, she'd get her ass kicked.
Does she have a point about Amanda Serrano being stripped? That the sanctioning bodies are letting her go up to 140 to fight Katie Taylor?
Not defending her titles at 126? Should they strip her? Here's what I think.
Why is Amanda holding on to those alphabet titles?
If she's not going to unify with Sky, and she's not going to defend them against the girls at 126, then why does she still have them? I think it's a plan B. I think it's a contingency. She's going up to 140 to fight Katie Taylor. First Stevie Morgan, then if she beats Stevie, it's Katie Taylor. And I think she's holding on to those alphabet titles at 126 as an assurance that if things don't go her way with Katie, she can always drop back down and still reign as a champion.
If she wins, I think she's going to drop them. If she beats Katie Taylor in the rematch, I don't think she goes back down to 126. But if she loses,
then I think she might.
Then she might go back down.
But as you all know, the rematch with Katie got postponed and pushed back all the way back there to the fall.
Delaying that process.
The disconnect is thinking that all of this is going to happen when Sky wants it to, on Sky's time. Amanda's not on Sky's time.
Sky, you've got Diana Vargas and Raven Chapman to worry about. And don't forget about Tiaria Brown.
Right?
Worry about them.
I don't begrudge Sky her desire to face the top dog at the weight, to unify titles, and perhaps become an undisputed champion herself. I understand. But I also understand that it's not going to happen on your time.
You're not in charge.
Better worry about Diana Vargas this weekend. Stay away from that big right hand.
Focus on that for now.
Focus.
I actually like Sky Nicolson, and she should count her lucky stars that Amanda isn't interested in fighting her, because if she were, Sky's ass would be grass.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Bob Arum talked about Shakur Stevenson, leaving Top Rank, Vasyl Lomachenko versus Tank, and Inouye.
Shakur is Shakur.
Bob Arum told Fights ATW 2 days after the fighter headlined on ESPN and won via unanimous decision in his hometown of Newark, New Jersey. The Brooklyn-born ATG promoter impressed me with his point of view on Shakur Stevenson, whose contract with Top Rank ended with the bout against Artem Haratunian Saturday night.
That's the way he fights. He's an enormous talent. It's not gonna change because some people complain that it's boring, reminding me that for him, this is business. He's not gonna KO the guy. It is what it is. He's a very tough guy to beat, though.
No, Arum doesn't get frustrated at what Stevenson could be or in comparison to 135-pounders from previous eras. I admit, I do, because I am a fan who watches to be entertained. Not impressed with his skill set, Roberto Duran is a template guy for me, the author stated. But Arum is more savvy, which makes sense, since he has maintained his spot in the sport for 6 decades by seeing the bigger picture.
And what is that?
Okay, so is Shakur done at Top Rank? Because oh my, was he making sharp points on ESPN in pre-fight footage after winning, and even more so on social media.
I'm not making it personal. We offered him a hell of a contract. He didn't accept. For me, there's no animosity. They are kids, many of these guys. It would be stupid of me to take it personally, to be affected.
He is 27, Bob. He's not a kid anymore, no?
I think some of the stuff is silly.
Bob admitted. You may have seen that Stevenson wore a t-shirt assigning blame to Top Rank for not getting him bigger and better fights.
These guys like him don't realize other fighters have a say in things. Just as he says who he wants to fight, so do others. He paints a picture. Everybody is a puppet but him. Like I can make any fight I want, do only what I want. It's not just him. There is a disconnect that I've been trying to talk about. He's 27. He is what he is.
Petulant, stubborn, headstrong. That's how I would describe Shakur Stevenson for laying the blame at the feet of Top Rank that Vasyl Lomachenko or George Kambosos weren't interested in fighting him.
Listening to pals and strangers on the internet doesn't serve Shakur because those folks have their own agendas and are not versed in the realities of big-time prize fighting. He has some good people around him, like James Prince. He is really smart, but the street people who talk to him don't understand.
And it's not hard to understand, if you have 2 functioning brain cells, that while Shakur Stevenson and Vasyl Lomachenko both fight under the Top Rank banner, that doesn't mean that Top Rank can force Vasyl Lomachenko or force George Kambosos to fight Shakur. They rather fight each other instead.
That isn't Top Rank's fault.
Is Andre Vard a good or bad influence on Shakur Stevenson? We saw Andre Vard in the mix on Saturday. Is he a good or bad influence on Stevenson as the 22-0 defensive master seeks to elevate himself in the sport and shops his services around to other promotional entities?
I don't know what kind of influence Ward is. He always seemed to me to be sensible. I would be surprised if Ward weren't a good influence. He knows how the boxing business works.
He might, but he never became all that big of a draw himself, and some would describe Andre Ward as being bitter and jealous towards those who did, those who went to that next level?
It's not saying that Ward wasn't accomplished. That's saying that he never went on to become a Mayweather or a Canelo, a Pacquiao.
So for a fighter who didn't go on to become a big box office draw, what kind of advice, what kind of counsel can he provide Shakur Stevenson if that's what Shakur aspires to do? Something that Andre Vard did not. Bob Arum had not been aware of some of Shakur's slings and arrows, like his take that people who were seen leaving the arena early while Stevenson and Hadatunian were sparring were incentivized to do so.
That's really sad.
Arum said when I related the charge that Top Rank and ESPN would be on such an act of collusion is ludicrous to Arum. Still, he remains sensible, making clear that if Shakur's hunt for his true worth falls short of his expectations, that Top Rank would sit down with Prince and maybe cut an extension.
I don't take that stuff personally. If he had violated his contract and then tried to come back, then no.
And so, Stevenson isn't violating any disparagement clause?
No.
Arum said, but yes, that conspiracy talk about paying people to leave?
It's asinine that we'd go to fans and say, please leave. Pay people to walk out?
These are just my thoughts. Shakur Stevenson is not the first disgruntled fighter that wanted to separate himself from Top Rank. Many would say that Teofimo is a disgruntled fighter, that Manny Pacquiao was a disgruntled fighter.
Promotional contracts end.
In some instances, some fighters might buy out their contract, like Floyd Mayweather did. That Shakur Stevenson is just the latest fighter to jump ship at Top Rank is nothing new.
Why do you think Bob Arum's not bothered about it? Why would he be? He expects it.
Because what the bleeding heart's playing a violin for Shakur Stevenson and the lack of promotion that he got at Top Rank, what they don't factor into it is that this is a part of the business. After a while, fighter's gonna get a big head.
Like a fighter never left Matchroom because he got a big head. What do you think happened with Lawrence Okolie and Joshua Buatsi?
Chantel Cameron. Why do you think Chantel Cameron left?
Why do you think Sinisi Estrada left Golden Boy Promotions?
But you think it's somehow different when a Shakur Stevenson leaves a Top Rank. Oh, it's Bob's fault. Big bad Bob.
Spare me.
They weren't promoting Shakur, you say. They weren't promoting him. Then how did 8,000 people know to show up to his fight? What, did Shakur Stevenson stand outside the arena handing out 8,000 tickets to over 8,000 people? Is that how that happened?
Since you're saying Top Rank doesn't know how to promote him.
And the over 1 million people who watched it at home on ESPN Linear, not even counting ESPN Plus, which is a separate set of numbers. Even more, how did all those people know when Shakur was fighting and who he was fighting?
How did you?
You're saying that the whole buildup of that fight, you never saw nothing from Top Rank. Not an update, a press conference, a fight poster. They weren't promoting him. Is that what you're saying?
If that's what you're saying, that's bullshit.
That's all these guys do is repeat themselves without thinking about what it is they're saying. And I hardly expect Bob Arum to be broken up that Shakur Stevenson, who was costing him $3 million per fight, $6 million throughout the calendar year, I hardly expect him to be broken up about it when he's not the first fighter that decided to leave the banner, and he won't be the last. Top Rank doesn't have it all riding on one fighter. That's why they've been around for so long.
If you think you can do better, then go do better.
Good luck.
But don't give me this dog and pony show about how mistreated he was at Top Rank, how they didn't promote him, they didn't push him. Then why did 8,000 people, over 8,000, show up to his fight?
How did over 1 million viewers know when he would be fighting and at what time? How?
Enough for the narrative already.
Finally, in men's lightweight news, Gervonta Davis has requested permission to travel to Paris while on probation after being invited by Team USA to support and advise their boxers at the Olympics. Judge Althea Hendy, who Davis previously called quote-unquote crazy after she sent him to prison last year, branded Davis's lawyer arrogant during the hearing to discuss this request and accused him of trying to intimidate her. No final decision has been made yet. I won't be surprised, on that premise, if they don't let him fly, if they don't let him go. You have to remember what happened. Initially, Gervonta was sentenced to house arrest at Calvin Ford's house.
Gervonta wanted it relocated to a 4-star hotel. I believe it was the Four Seasons. Judge Althea responded by having him serve it in a detention center. It was really only 44 days, a little over a month, but still, she didn't like that.
So you can imagine her chagrin that Gervonta Davis is back in front of her requesting to fly to Paris because Team USA wants him to. I understand that he would be flying out on business, but you're on probation for slamming into that group of people with a car that you weren't supposed to be driving because you didn't have a license.
You already got off easy.
Now you want to go to Paris. Who cares why or who requested it? You're on probation.
You think she'll let him?
I don't know. When she describes Gervonta's legal representation as being arrogant, I can only deduce that she characterizes them as being arrogant because how could you think that this was a good idea?
How could you think this was gonna fly? That you were gonna fly?
It's just me bouncing ideas around because she doesn't sound happy about it. A reminder that even though Gervonta Davis has served his time, he's still on probation and he can't afford to get into any other situations, skirmishes, or legal woes. The next time, he'll serve even more time.
But he's not out of the woods yet.
Given his propensity for getting in trouble with the law, getting into things that he shouldn't, he's got to be careful because he's stepping on eggshells.
Walking a tightrope.
He's on thin ice.
We get it.
If he were to go to Paris at the request of Team USA, he would be there on business, sort of. He's there as a boxer, a consultant of sorts, but even that in and of itself is a privilege. His ability to move around under these circumstances it is. She doesn't have to let him go.
She can say no and he can do fuck all about it.
No final decision has been made yet, but it doesn't sound encouraging when she accuses his attorney of trying to intimidate her.
How'd he do that?
Doesn't really matter because she's got the final say, and if that's how she feels about it, well, it doesn't look good. I don't have any pity, sympathy for Gervonta Davis in this situation. I think the penalty should have been harsher for what he did.
He could have killed someone.
Some ones that he should have got off so easy. So easy, he wanted to serve the rest of the time in a 4-star hotel. So you didn't get the message across. Get the message to him.
He didn't learn anything.
If he's now ballsy enough to think that he can travel, take a trip over to Paris, France.
He didn't learn anything.
And he's not the least bit remorseful. He's just pushing the boundaries as much as you allow him to.
So is she gonna let him go? I don't know.